You know that feeling when you check your bank account and see a bigger number than usual? Maybe you got a bonus or a tax refund or your paycheck hit a day early. And immediately, I mean immediately, your brain starts making plans. Oh, I could finally get that new phone. Or maybe it's time to upgrade my car. Or I should book that trip I've been thinking about. And here's the crazy part. That money is usually gone within 2 weeks, not because you needed anything, but because having extra money felt exciting, and we've been conditioned to believe that excitement equals action. Well, I'm about to tell you why that exact feeling, that rush of excitement about money, is probably the biggest thing standing between you and actual wealth. My name is Rayhan, and I spend way too much time thinking about why people who make good money still can't seem to build wealth. If you're someone who's tired of watching your income go up while your bank account stays the same, or you're confused about why you work so hard but never feel financially secure, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Here's the thing. We have been sold a complete lie about what wealth looks like. We think wealth is exciting. We think it's buying whatever you want whenever you want it. We think it's about finally being able to say yes to everything. But I recently came across a statistic that absolutely blew my mind. According to a study from the National Endowment for Financial Education, about 70% of people who receive a financial windfall, we're talking lottery winners, inheritance, legal settlements, lose all of that money within just 3 to 5 years. 70%. These are people who receive life-changing amounts of money and they end up right back where they started, or worse, in debt. And before you say, well, that's just lottery winners, they're not smart with money. Look, this same pattern shows up everywhere. Athletes who make millions, celebrities, even regular people who get promoted or switch to higher paying jobs. There's this phenomenon called lifestyle inflation, and it destroys more wealth than any stock market crash ever could. So what's the actual secret? It's what I call the no excitement rule, and it sounds absolutely miserable when you first hear it, but stay with me because this is where it gets really interesting. Wealthy people, and I mean actually wealthy people, not just high-income people pretending to be wealthy, they have this weird relationship with money that most of us just don't understand. They're not excited about having money. They're not excited about spending money. They're barely excited about making money. Let me give you a concrete example. Let's say you're making $60,000 a year and you get promoted to $80,000. That's a $20,000 raise, about $1,667 more per month after taxes. Let's say around $1,200 in your pocket. For most people, that moment feels incredible. They immediately start thinking, I can finally afford a nicer apartment. I should get a newer car. I deserve to eat out more. I've been wanting to upgrade my wardrobe. And boom, within 6 months, they're spending that entire extra $1,200 every single month. Their lifestyle expands to match their income. They're not any wealthier than they were before. They just have nicer stuff. But here's what the person who actually builds wealth does with that same raise. Absolutely nothing. And I don't mean nothing in a sad, depressing way. I mean they don't change their life at all. They still live in the same apartment, still drive the same car, still pack lunch most days. That $1,200 a month, it goes straight into investments. It disappears before they even see it. And after 1 year, they have $14,400 invested. After 5 years, assuming just a 7% average return, they have around $86,000. After 10 years, over $200,000 from one raise that they never got excited about. Now, you might be thinking, Rayhan, that sounds absolutely miserable. What's the point of making more money if you can't enjoy it? And look, I get it. This is where most financial advice falls apart because it ignores human psychology. But here's what most people don't realize. Excitement is expensive, and boredom is profitable. When you get excited about money, your brain releases dopamine. It's the same chemical response you get from gambling, from social media likes, from eating sugar. And just like those things, financial excitement creates a tolerance. You need more and more to feel the same rush. This is why people making $150,000 often feel just as broke as people making $50,000. It's not about the absolute amount, it's about the emotional relationship with the money. Every time you get more, you train your brain to feel that excitement, and then you need to spend it to complete the dopamine loop. Let me tell you about my friend Marcus. Marcus is a software engineer, makes about $180,000 a year. Great salary, right? But every time we'd grab coffee, he'd complain about money. I'm barely scraping by, he'd say. And I'm thinking, dude, you make 3 times the median household income. How is that possible? So I finally asked him to break down his expenses. $3,200 for a luxury apartment in the city center because he deserved nice space. $850 for a lease on a BMW because it's important for his professional image. $400 a month on restaurants because cooking is stressful after work. Gym membership at an expensive boutique place, $200. Subscriptions to every streaming service, $80. High-end coffee every morning, $150 a month. And here's the kicker. None of these things were making him happier. He had just gotten excited about the money coming in, and his brain had created this whole narrative about what he should be doing with it. Let me show you some math that actually changed how I think about this entire thing. Let's take two people, person A and person B. They both start their careers at 25 years old, making $50,000 a year. Their salaries increase at the same rate, about 3% annually, which is pretty typical. Person A gets excited about money. Every time they get a raise, they increase their spending to match. They never actually feel wealthier because they're always spending everything they make. By age 35, they're making $65,000, but still living paycheck to paycheck with maybe $15,000 in savings. Person B follows the no excitement rule. They decide at 25 that they're going to live on $40,000 a year, and that's it. Everything above that goes directly to investments, into index funds, retirement accounts, whatever. They don't get excited about the raises because they never see the money. And at 35, person B is still living on about $40,000 to $45,000, maybe adjusted slightly for inflation, but they're making $65,000. Where did the difference go? They've been investing an average of about $18,000 a year for 10 years. With compound returns, they now have approximately $260,000 invested. The investments themselves are now generating about $16,000 a year in returns. Now here's where it gets absolutely wild. By age 45, person A is making $87,000 and still broke. Person B is making $87,000, still living on roughly the same $40,000 to $45,000, and now has about $850,000 invested. The investments are generating about $60,000 a year in returns. Person B could literally quit their job at 45 and maintain their lifestyle just from investment returns. Person A has to work until they're 65 or 70 and will probably still be stressed about money. The difference? Person A got excited about money for 20 years. Person B didn't. But here's what really frustrates me about this whole thing and why I'm making this video. The cost of financial excitement isn't just measured in dollars, it's measured in freedom. Every time you get excited about spending money, you're literally buying yourself less freedom. That new car payment, that's 40 hours a month you have to work to pay for it. That expensive apartment in the trendy neighborhood, that's probably an extra 60 to 80 hours a month of work required. When you add it all up, most people are working an extra 15 to 20 years of their lives just to fund the excitement they felt about money in their 20s and 30s. Think about that. 15 years of waking up to an alarm, 15 years of commuting, 15 years of asking permission to take vacation, 15 years that could have been spent doing literally anything else. And the wildest part? According to research from Princeton University's Woodrow Wilson School, emotional well-being increases with income up to about $75,000 per year, and then it basically plateaus. After that point, more money doesn't make you meaningfully happier. But you know what does make you happier? Having the option not to work, having time freedom, not being stressed about bills. Now look, I'm not saying you should live like a monk and never enjoy anything. That's not sustainable, and it's not the point. The no excitement rule isn't about deprivation. It's about decoupling your emotions from your financial decisions. Here's what it actually looks like. When you get a raise, you don't immediately start planning how to spend it. You automate the entire increase straight into investments before you even see it. You can't get excited about money you never touch. When you get a bonus or a tax refund, you don't treat it like fun money, you treat it like regular money. It goes to the same place everything else goes. Investments first, bills second, and if there's anything left over, then maybe you do something nice. When you see something you want to buy, you don't ask, can I afford this? You ask, what is this actually costing me? That $800 phone, that's not $800. If you invest that money instead and it grows at 7% annually, that's $3,150 in 20 years. That's not a phone. That's a week of your life you didn't have to sell. Now you might be thinking, Rehan, this sounds great in theory, but I have real expenses. I have debt. I have rent. I can't just magically invest 30% of my income. And you're right. If you're truly living paycheck to paycheck because of actual necessary expenses, then step one isn't about the no excitement rule. It's about creating any gap between income and expenses at all. But here's what I've noticed. Most people who say they can't save money are actually saying they can't save money without giving up things they've gotten excited about. The Netflix subscription, the frequent Uber rides, the daily Starbucks, the convenient location that cost $400 more a month in rent. These aren't needs. They're just things you got excited about at some point, and now they feel like needs. I'm not trying to shame anyone here. I fell into this trap too. I remember when I first started making decent money, I immediately got excited and moved to a much nicer apartment. And you know what? For the first month, it was great. I loved it. But by month 3, it just felt normal. I had adapted. The excitement was gone, but the expense remained. That's the trap of lifestyle inflation. The excitement fades, but the financial commitment doesn't. Here's where this gets really interesting and why I'm actually excited about not being excited, if that makes sense. The no excitement rule doesn't just affect your bank account, it affects every single aspect of your life because it trains your brain to delay gratification, to think long term, to make decisions based on outcomes rather than feelings. People who master this rule don't just build wealth, they build better careers because they're not desperate for money. They can take calculated risks, turn down bad opportunities, negotiate harder because they're not afraid of walking away. They build better relationships because they're financially stressed. Money problems are one of the leading causes of divorce in America. About 41% of divorced Gen Xers cited financial issues as a primary reason. They have better health because financial stress is directly linked to heart disease, high blood pressure, depression, and anxiety. A study by the American Psychological Association found that 72% of Americans feel stressed about money at least some of the time. When you remove that stress by building actual financial security, your entire quality of life improves. But most people never experience this because they can't get past the initial hump. They can't tolerate being boring with money for long enough to see the benefits compound. Let me give you realistic expectations because I think this is where a lot of financial advice fails people. It sets them up with unrealistic timelines and then they give up when results don't come fast enough. If you start following the no excitement rule today, here's what the actual timeline looks like. First 6 months. This is the hardest part. You'll feel like you're sacrificing without seeing any results. Your friends are buying stuff, going places, and you're just watching numbers slowly increase in an investment account. This is where most people quit. Months 6 to 12, you'll start to notice a shift. You stop thinking about the things you're missing out on as much. The investment account is growing noticeably now. Maybe you've saved $10,000 or $15,000. It's real money, and it starts to feel more valuable than anything you could have bought. Years 2 to 3, this is where it gets interesting. The compound growth starts becoming visible. Your investments might be making $3,000 to $5,000 a year just from returns. That's money you didn't have to work for. You start to understand the game. Years 5 to 7, this is the turning point. Your investments are probably generating $10,000 to $20,000 a year in returns. That's a meaningful amount of money, more than most people save in a year by working. You start to feel actual freedom because you could take a few months off work and be fine. Years 10 plus, this is where the no excitement rule pays off in ways that are hard to describe. You might have 300,000, 500,000, maybe more invested. The returns alone might be $30,000 to $50,000 a year. You realize you could retire early if you wanted to, or work part-time, or start that business you've been thinking about. You have options, and options are the real definition of wealth. The action steps. So, what do you actually do? Here's the step by step. Step 1, figure out the minimum you can live on comfortably, not miserably, comfortably. For most people in mid-cost of living areas, this is probably somewhere between $35,000 and $50,000 a year. Track your expenses for 1 month and really look at what's essential versus what's just stuff you got excited about at some point. Step 2, commit to living on that amount for the next 2 to 3 years, regardless of how much you make. If you're already spending more than you make, this means making some hard choices. Cancel subscriptions, move to a cheaper place when your lease is up, sell the car with the payment and buy something reliable in cash. Step 3, automate everything above your living expenses straight into investments, not into a savings account where you can see it and be tempted, into actual investments. Index funds, target date retirement funds, whatever. Just get it out of your checking account immediately. Step 4, practice not getting excited. When something good happens financially, a raise, a bonus, whatever, your job is to feel exactly nothing. Acknowledge it, sure, but don't let your brain start making plans. That money was already allocated the moment you earned it. Step 5, give yourself permission to reevaluate every 2 to 3 years. This isn't about being miserable forever, it's about being disciplined long enough for compound growth to do its thing. After a few years, when your investments are substantial, you can make conscious choices about lifestyle increases if you want to. Look, I know this isn't the sexiest financial advice. You probably clicked on this video hoping I'd tell you about some investment strategy or side hustle that would make you rich quickly while still being able to enjoy your money today. But here's the truth that most financial influencers won't tell you because it doesn't get views. Wealth is boring. It's supposed to be boring. The moment it gets exciting, you're probably doing something wrong. The no excitement rule works because it goes against every instinct our brains have developed. Our brains evolved to seek immediate rewards because for most of human history, there was no guarantee of tomorrow. But we don't live in that world anymore. We live in a world where compound growth exists, where you can literally let math work in your favor for decades if you can just resist the urge to get excited. Every wealthy person I've ever studied has this same trait. They're boring with money. Warren Buffett lives in the same house he bought in 1958 for $31,500. He drives normal cars. He eats at McDonald's. Is that because he's cheap? No, it's because he never got excited about money. He got excited about the game of building wealth, but not about spending it. You can do the same thing. You just have to be willing to be boring with your money for long enough to let the compound effect work its magic. The question is, are you willing to be boring today so you can have actual freedom tomorrow? Or are you going to keep getting excited about money and staying broke forever? If this video changed how you think about money, hit that like button and subscribe because I make videos about this stuff every single week. And if you're serious about implementing the no excitement rule, drop a comment below telling me one expense you're going to eliminate this month. Let's build wealth together, the boring way. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.